Welcome back, everybody, to the Good Company podcast. We're on episode number 7 with special guest Jim DiOrio, ex-Army West Point grad, FBI special agent, and now currently running his own security consulting firm. Great commentary today about genuineness, wholehearted approach to sales, and things like that, with some really funny stories at the end. So hang tough and enjoy it. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, and follow. All right, guys, here we are again for a super special episode of the Good Company podcast. I'm rolling solo today. We have our other host on vacation for a bachelor party, so enjoy that, Rye. Sitting with a super special guest, as I said, Jim DiOrio. Good friend of mine over the last 5 years or so through Hollywood Golf Club. Spent a lot of time out there battling on the fairways and the greens.
Really bad golf.
We spent a lot of time, but, you know, I said this to our team before, just somebody who exudes just genuineness from day one. Took me in as a rookie caddy, and you were kind of a newer member, and we kind of linked up, knew some of the same people, and over the last 5 years just have taught me a lot. And I just thought it would be a great opportunity while you're on a little bit of a podcast run here to get you in and just kind of get some background on you and kind of talk about in more length just about your background and how that's brought you to be as focused and driven as you are, but still, when you walk in a party or into a room even, you're that guy who everybody's attracted to, even with this good level of, intensity and focus. So I just, again, thank you so much for coming and welcome.
I appreciate you having me. It's great. I mean, it's, I feel like we've known each other for a lot longer than just a few years, but always fun.
Yeah.
You keep me under control when I'm having terrible rounds, which is most of the time. But yeah, we've had some good times.
Definitely.
And it's great to be here. And obviously a big shout out to Colton.
Number one guy. He's our number one guy.
He's our man.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait how he comes out.
Together.
Exactly. So they're going to get a tag on that clip for sure.
Perfect. I got a shout out to my grandson, Sal. Someday you'll see Poppy here when I'm gone, and you'll be like, "Oh, my grandfather was all right."
Correct.
So I just want to.
Those are our two guys.
Hopefully not gone too soon.
But those are our two guys that keep you centered when we get a little errant left, or we're in a bunker for the second time on a hole. We're asking, what would Colton do, or what's Sal thinking right now?
What's Sal thinking? That's how we get through it.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Man.
But you're just such an interesting person. You have stories for days, and I've been lucky enough to hear a couple. But here at the Good Company, we talk about experience and what that has done to create people's lives and shape them, and whether for the good or for the bad, or maybe just for the bad for a little while, or whatever the case may be. So just to introduce yourself to the people who don't know you, what's kind of some background on yourself, and just kind of a brief synopsis on Jim DiOrio.
Man, definitely. I grew up as the son of a public servant. My dad was one of 7, grew up in the downtown section in Newark, and, came out of the military and decided to go continue in public service and became a Newark fireman. So, my brother, myself, and my sister, we were all raised always thinking about something bigger than yourself, which is cool, which has really driven me. And from there, I can remember a conversation with my father when he basically said, "Hey, I want to talk to you for a minute. College money, I don't have any." So, we all took that to heart. We all found our way, and my way was through the military, and I was fortunate enough to get appointed to West Point.
Wow.
And had a really great experience that continues on to today. I mean, it just was 40 years later, I was with, 10 or 12 guys that I'm in daily contact with.
Yeah.
And it's just like we get flipped back to the old days, and we go right back to our roles. We go right back to our stories and our laughter. And it was fantastic. So we spent a weekend together, and it grounds me, and I watch their successes, and I kind of say, yeah, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to continue to be. And we all kind of go through that. So after West Point, did some time in the military, really interesting jobs, got to travel, got deployed, got a chance to coach the Army baseball team for a minute.
No way.
Which was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, kind of was winding down, and I was looking at corporate America, and I got talked to by two different, 3-letter companies,
right?
The agency and the bureau, and I made my decision to go in the bureau, and I did some crossover time working undercover.
Right.
In the bureau, I was still in the Army, and then ultimately spent 9 years in a pretty cool intel job, and then went into the bureau. And the bureau was just as exciting with a lot of fun stuff. I felt that same draw that we were talking about before, camaraderie, partnership, having each other's back, but nothing was like the West Point days.
Right.
But the bureau came close. With all the issues now with the bureau, you kind of wonder if they do need more of that camaraderie.
Yeah, like where to go.
Apart,
exactly. Well, I can say from experience, I've met some of those West Point guys through our time together.
Yeah.
100%. Some of the best guys, and they have a good time. You guys have a great time, and stories and laughter and like jubilant laughter. Like it's not like, oh, haha, like, let me hit my tee shot. It's like, I can't hit my tee shot because I just laughed for the last 10 minutes, or I can't read this green because my eyes are watering so much because you guys are going back and forth. So that's massive. And we talk to, we've done about 6 or 7 episodes now. We've talked to a lot of people all over the country. And the one thing that seems to always be true or consistent across the board is, like you just said, that sports angle, having that drive or having that conversation with a coach or a father of like, I don't have the money for this, so I have to do it, whether through sports or through the Army or whatever the case may be. So I think a lot of people are going that way or have to go that way. And I don't necessarily think it hurts you in any way. If anything, it just continues to drive you. But in terms of sports and all that kind of stuff, do you feel like that helped you kind of get through some of the stuff, early in the military where maybe you weren't completely military minded, but maybe you still needed that drive?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I knew what it was like to serve something bigger than myself.
Right.
Obviously through my dad and his example, and my brother served, and kind of looked at that and said, "This is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's something I want to try." And I went up on my visit to West Point, and it was like, yeah, I could see myself there.
Awesome.
And I took advantage. West Point has a thing where they talk about surviving or thriving, and so it's about half split.
Right.
Some people just, they get there, and maybe it's a parent who went there, and so that drives them, and then they find themselves just trying to survive, head above water.
Right.
And I can remember your freshman year is really difficult. I remember my dad saying, like, "Hey, when it gets really tough, go out and help somebody else. Just stand up and go over to somebody who's struggling." And I tried to do that. And that focus allowed me to kind of say, you know what? Everybody's kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
So let's help each other out. Let's get through. Let's be grateful for the fact that we have these relationships. Why they've lasted so long in my life.
Totally. And I got caught in that the other night. Like, I'm watching these things on Facebook, and you're getting flooded with these amazing stories of, some guy out on his luck on the street corner. Turns out to be 10 years ago, he was this amazing, barber or trumpet player. And all of a sudden he just was down on his luck and blah, blah, blah. And it is true. Like, instead of just walking by that guy, somebody, and whether they're videoing it for the fame or whatever, besides the point, but they did walk by, they said, let me give you a chance. And then you discover this about that person. That's that selfless act. And we're trying to go through that right now. And on the sales side is because we're a transactional company. That's what we do. Everything's a transaction, but we don't do it by ourselves. We have a title person, an insurance person, a realtor.
Sure.
So instead of always having these conversations with these people of, hey, do you have any deals yet?
Yep.
Why not be, how can I help you? I know this person, this person, this person. How can I bring them to you? Because eventually it comes back, right? And whether it does or it doesn't, it comes back karmatically because you feel much better about yourself going out and doing that.
More confidence, more ability. And I find with clients, I'll never do a Zoom. I'll never do a team meeting, or Google Meets. I will go out and see the person, because you get to learn so much more about who you're trying to help.
Right.
And in my business now, as you know, we're doing security consulting, but at a high end.
Right.
So we've got all kinds of solutions. Some of them are scalable, some of them are not, but they're pretty interesting solutions. I can't tell what you need by just talking to you on the phone. I need to be in front of you. So it's a lot of travel, and it's a lot of meeting different people. And just what you said, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to be part of something that's helping someone else.
Right.
That's the most valuable part.
Yeah.
And it's all, even your mental state is just, it's been proven, right? Your mental state is elevated based on the fact that you're helping someone else.
Yeah. And then,
not just doing it for you.
absolutely.
And we were just talking before we came in, Jordan Peterson, right?
Right.
And Jordan Peterson said something that pretty much helped me to put kind of the foot back on the pedal.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of go back and forth, because there's times when I really want to just get out and practice golf.
Yeah,
and there's times when I really, believe it or not, I really do put my foot to the metal.
Right.
So, he said, work hard at something for 6 months, just 6 months, one thing for 6 months, and watch what happens.
Right.
And it is so true. It is so true. Not easy to do. It sounds like, I could do that. But 6 months, you work really, really hard at something, the results are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And part of it is getting out and meeting people. Like you said, it's not about what deal do you have? What's a good spot? Hey, what's the rate? It's about, hey man, what are you about?
Yeah.
And what can I do to make your life easier?
Yeah. 100%.
And it does come back.
Yeah. And I think, one thing I'm struggling with right now is because the market has been so crazy, and this volatility and these buzzwords that you're hearing, I've felt like, and Brandon can attest to this because he's been kind of my guy. I'm just like running through the aisles with these ideas. I just feel like I'm trying to do so many different things to kind of get that business back into, coming in, that I think what you're saying is, if I took one thing that I really love, or what I think has really been working so far out of all these things, and I just did that one thing for 6 months, I just think it would be, crazy.
Absolutely.
It would pay crazy dividends, instead of trying to nurture 7 different things. Really focus in on that one thing. It would change. It would change everything. So that's kind of been my, new focus, kind of moving forward.
I think that's a great focus. And I think the thing is, many of us are great business development people, right? And that's a great skill to have. But if you can't finish with that, or don't have someone to finish for you, it could really be disappointing.
Right.
And so, you find yourself, hey, I've got 1 million different contacts, and 1 million different contacts to nurture. And I can bring people in. Hey, listen, I can get them into a boardroom here, or with a high net worth, pro athlete here.
Right.
But if we can't finish, if we can't find that one thing that binds us with a success, it goes away quickly.
And that meeting has just become that travel, that meeting, that work to get that lead, that, for our business and for your business to get that meeting. It's like, now all that work goes to nothing because you just missed maybe a pain point, or you just missed something because you were too focused on yourself, and you weren't weren't listening, or whatever the case may be.
That is exactly, we make that mistake, and you get better at it. Like, I love the look of new clients, the look on their face when we show up in Santa Monica, California I've flown out and flown back in the same day.
Wow.
For an hour meeting. But the look is, wait a minute, did you have something else to do here?
Right.
No, we came out to see you.
Yeah.
Because you have a problem.
Right.
And here's what we're going to do about it. And then within a reasonable amount of time to actually find something that you can do for that person. It might not be the actual end game,
right,
for you or for them, but it's something that you can do.
And that you showing up and putting that effort in, and I tell our co-host Ryan, who you didn't unfortunately get to meet, but we'll tell that story later. He completely changed my idea on that, because he had 2 borrowers in New Orleans, and he had a great relationship with them. He went down there, and his footprint down there has 10 times magnified, 10 times between the calls inbound, between emails, and this is my person. And he'll tell you, and it's strictly because he went in there and he showed his face, and he was able to put his personality out there and show what he's worth, because he's a great guy, genuine dude. And he was really able to portray that to not only the people that he had already gained the trust, but now they're people that they trust as well. You know what I mean? And I think that goes a long way. And when you're talking about, the clientele that you're working with, that's even magnified that much more because of the net worth, and because of what they do, and the seriousness of their day-to-day life. you putting in that extra effort to go look them in the eyes and say, you can put your trust in me to securitize, whether it's them physically or financially or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's a home run.
It's priceless.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's peace of mind.
Yeah.
For them. And it's just being able to relate, even if nothing happens, even if business doesn't go forward in that moment.
Right.
It's kind of, hey, you know what? I trusted that guy. I liked what he said. And now, maybe a month from now, 2 months from now, 10 years from now, something comes across their desk and they say, whoa, wait a minute. I know they got a call.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen.
Right.
I've had people call, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but back in 2014, we met at and sometimes I'll be honest, I'm like, I have to really draw and say, oh, wait a minute. And something in the conversation, hey, I have this issue. And the next thing you know, we're up and running.
Right.
So you never know a person who you're going to influence when they're going to come about and how they're going to come about and why they're going to come about. And I always thank people for putting their trust in me.
Yeah.
That's key to it.
100%. It's one thing that it's one thing I put in every one of my emails, even people that I don't go through with a deal with, it's just thank you for the opportunity. Just like, and like I said to you, even coming in and giving me the respect of sitting and talking today, the opportunity is unbelievable because it's something that when you're dealing with home ownership, it might be different, but that's a big step. For somebody to take their, we joked about it in the meeting, but newer investors, most of that newer investor money is probably coming from their wedding, maybe coming from a communion or whatever from way back, or most of that money is probably not going to be stuff that's hung around long, so they want to hold on to that. So you to put that trust in me to go through the deal with you, make sure that profits are there. I just think that goes a long way, and being able to express that genuinely, I think is big. And I think that because especially for you, those high end people, there's a reason that they're up there. So when and I say this at the caddy yard all the time as well, is there's a reason that these people are in the positions they are.
Yeah.
So if you go in there with an ulterior motive, it is going to be fished out within the first 15 seconds of them talking to you. That's why they're in the position that they are, right? So if you go in there with this thought of I'm going to get this, this, and this out of this, you're already out of the meeting, in my opinion, or even in just the introduction with a member at a club as a caddy or something just stupid like that. Yeah. It's all about just kind of showing that selflessness, that it's genuine and that it's true. And I think that goes a long way. And it's funny, some of the buzzwords you're using in your business is exactly the things that we would use, having that conversation and it didn't go well. We were learning the other day, 8-9 objections. And, me and Brandon's eyes, we're like, what? 8-9 objections when you think about it.
Yep.
But it's just about staying consistent. And I guess that brings me to what we were talking about before. And it comes from the military training. It comes from just being as, focused and driven as you are. And that's kind of been our buzzword. But, my biggest issue is focus. Mm-hmm. My biggest issue is coming in with a plan, saying, this is my attack for the day, and sticking to that attack because a fire pops up over here. You run over there, a text comes in. I got to go take care of this.
Yeah.
For somebody that's struggling with that, kind of what are some baby steps or some things that kind of help you in your day to day to kind of keep everything structured and on time?
It goes back to my West Point training.
Yeah.
We were time managers. That's what we learned first. Before we learned anything else, the whole first summer is about how to manage your time. You don't have a lot of it.
Right.
So if you don't take advantage of the time you do have, you're going to be behind. And that leads to better preparation. And even like a mental, I kind of do it's not a true meditation, but in the morning I spend 20 minutes really, really focusing on planning the day.
Okay.
And what I need to do before I can get up and go home.
Right.
Get up and go do something else. So that involves, for me, it involves an actual timer.
Yeah.
I actually say, okay, I got 30 minutes for emails. No matter what happens, I am knocking these emails out.
Okay.
I'm not going to look at anything else. And then I have my list of phone calls. So that's my focus. And then what do I want to accomplish? What would make this day a successful day? And it doesn't have to be getting everything done. You can't get everything done.
Yeah.
If you go into it every day and put to-do lists with everything you've got to do, you're going to be lost at the end of the day. So the biggest thing that works for me is if I walk out of this office today and I got X done or X plus 1 done, I am thrilled to death.
Right.
And most of it is about setting up the next business development meeting, but at the same time accomplishing something for somebody that I met yesterday or last week.
Right.
And making sure that I touch them on that. And that could be, those times, it's the phone because you've established a relationship.
Right, exactly.
So I can make a call and say, hey, look, I was thinking about this. You were talking about the fact that your daughter got a threatening email. This is what I think we should do on that. And here's why. And here's what's worked in the past. So always using your past experiences with clients.
Right.
Listen, I thought about this product for you, but I don't know that it's going to be the best thing. But here's what I've seen work in the past for someone in your position. And then you leave them with that.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, oh my God, Jack was actually thinking about my issue today.
Right.
And it might just be one person that you touch like that day. That's good enough. You can go to sleep and say, yeah, I helped somebody today.
Yeah.
That's focus to me.
Okay.
Now, there's days where I'm like, I actually sit and I intentionally think, I'm not doing a damn thing today.
Right.
And it happens.
Yeah.
And then it might be taking the dog up to the beach.
Right.
It might be sitting and watching my favorite show of all time, NYPD Blue, and watching Andy Sipowicz and how he just destroyed somebody on that day. But those are things that I build into it too.
Okay.
So I think focus is keeping your foot down on the pedal as consistency, putting on cruise control. I don't mean it by cruise control, but think about it. If you're driving on a long drive and you just stay at 70 miles an hour, you're going to pass a whole boatload of people that are doing 80 and then 40 and then 60.
Yeah, moving in and out of lanes.
Just focused and straight ahead. And at the end of the drive saying, got 500 miles in today.
Right.
And I accomplished this, this, and this. I didn't have an accident. I paid all my tolls and I stopped for coffee 6 times.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
That is the same way that I think focus becomes a learned habit.
Yeah.
And the shiny nickel. I love what you say about that. Because that's all human nature is, I'm working on this one. Oh, I can get that one. Oh, I can get that one. That happens.
Yeah.
How do you avoid that? Is you really have to be very, very intentional about your plan.
Yeah. And now do you write anything down like to start the day? It's okay.
I do. Yeah. I do like a Friday afternoon and a Monday morning summary. So at the end of Friday afternoon, anything that I've accomplished goes away.
Right.
And then for Monday morning, I sit and I say, all right, or even Sunday night sometimes.
Yeah.
What's the week going to look like? What's my travel look like? Do I have, something I have to do with the kids? Do I have something to do with my wife? And then in between is the time that I have. And I really try to focus in on that stuff. Because nowadays, everybody like social media, the internet, it's distracting.
10 minutes can be sucked up in so fast.
And everybody's full of shit on social media. I as a former FBI supervisor, I love social media because it's the best open source investigative tool in the history of the world. So all you bad people that are threatening my clients, keep it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's the easiest thing to do.
And all the people flashing cash and all that stuff and all,
keep it up.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
don't
keep
go
flooding
away.
my feed.
Don't go away,
Now, on that side of it, how much of, your experiences with the ugliness, let's just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. How much of your experience with the ugliness of the world how do you just filter that and just continue to keep this? And I know there's struggles every day for,
mm-hmm.
Just not yourself, but veterans in general.
Definitely.
But, we have, and this is no way in a comparison, so please no disrespect here, but, we have new LOs here that have come into this game mm-hmm. at the historical worst time that they possibly could have come. So You're seeing around the office some long faces, some guys that are really, really grinding. What would kind of be your, I guess, advice to just seeing the macro side of it? Because I know that like us talking about focus and to-do list, that's a little bit more micro.
Yes.
But in terms of big picture, what keeps your aura up as much as it does?
I go into the approach, everything happens, literally everything happens for a reason. But I even look at it deeper. If things keep recurring in your life, if things keep happening over and over again, maybe different situations, but the same message, you have to go back and heal yourself.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to heal those issues that happened a long time ago when you were a kid probably and say, you know what? Thank you for that.
Right.
Because I'm able to be more thoughtful on that front. Big thing with veterans, and you'll see it with young people today, is the hypervigilance. Mm-hmm. Social media does it. Biggest thing, PTS, which I'm not ashamed to say I suffered from, and I'm healed. I truly believe that.
Right.
There's some disconnection. It's a big disconnection thing. You kind of remove yourself.
Okay.
PTS is a hypervigilant disease. So picture yourself constantly with that feeling of left lane, Garden State Parkway doing 80 and you pass a trooper. You know that feeling?
Yeah.
That's
where you're staring in the
steady.
rearview mirror.
That might be a month or 6 months of deployment time. That's the way you are the whole time.
Wow.
Now let me bring that young person back to a Starbucks to go and get a cup of coffee and sit there.
Right.
I can spot PTS from a mile away. I have been spotted by people who could spot PTS from a mile away. So what you're saying is when you see those long faces, that's a form of post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Because it's something where they felt they were going to be good or they had all the hopes in the world, and then something strikes them down and they become depressed over it and start to focus on the failure.
Right.
You know, I think the macro, the big picture on this thing is thinking about and being grateful for the fact that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And saying, okay, there must be something in my past. There must be something in the way I'm thinking about things that I need to heal.
Yeah.
And it's a little off, but that's what's helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at even deaths that I've experienced, in situations.
Right.
Why was I with that person when that person died?
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it as because they needed me there.
Right.
They needed me to be there. They chose me to be there.
Yeah.
Spiritual, yeah, probably, but it really helps me look at the big picture.
Yeah, and I think that's number one. And I think just realizing that for it's going to get better. There's going to be using the time where it sucks and it's bad to repair yourself, and like you said, look in and say, is this really for me? Am I happy here? You have all those harder conversations, but guess what? Whether it's what you thought on the other side or not, you're going to be better for it. Always,
100%.
and that's what we're trying to stress to these young guys is to just stick with it, stick with the plan, keep those calls coming, keep those emails out, and it's just eventually going to work as much as it. And I say it because I was that kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I came into sales with zero experience. I sold cars, at 21, and I came in with just car sales experience. And, I had guys upstairs that had already done 5 million in a year and were 27 years old, or had, my boss Christian doing 10 to 15, 20. And you find yourself comparing him, and these people are talking down to you saying it will get better. Right. That was the feeling when you're there, right? You're looking up at these people and you're saying, oh, how will it get better? I'm just this, and then now I'm kind of closer into that middle tier, not quite where those guys were, but in that middle tier, and I'm kind of saying echoing those same sentiments, and it's true because I now have lived through it, and I just think it's super important to.
You've gotten better through your experience.
Bingo.
You have to go through the experience. Like I sold jail time for a living. Honestly, that's what I did.
Right.
I had to convince you to plead out to something that would put you in jail, make you a convicted felon on the federal side of the house.
Right.
And I had to get you to, in my opinion, I always wanted a handshake. I didn't ever want someone to not want to shake my hand after I did that.
Yeah.
And my pitch was very much a sales pitch. We've got the evidence. You're now on Team America. It's time to start your life over today.
Right.
The handcuffs on is the worst day of your life by a bunch of FBI agents.
Yeah.
I get it, but we can make it better. So I was selling jail time out of, I would say, more than 500 arrests that I personally organized the investigation and arrested them. I had one person not shake my hand.
Wow.
And do you know, I probably think about it 3 or 4 times a day.
And do you think that there was anything while you were doing it or in your kind of pitch to him that he was just not into it, he or she was just not into it?
He lied, and I knew it, and he wouldn't stop lying. And I finally just said, I have to, I'm done.
Yeah.
I told him not to go to trial because you were going to get convicted. And he took that, instead of taking that advice and saying, I think DiOrio actually is sincere about this advice, which I was with everyone. He just was like, he's trying to set me up. So we went to trial. The worst part about it is he got his 2 adult children to lie on the stand. And I could have charged them. I could have had them charged, but I didn't because I knew that it was a bad situation for them. Could you imagine, how are you going to shake the guy's hand that did that you felt caused, that person's kids to lie?
Right.
You caused it.
Yeah.
You should have just pled out like the jerk off that you were.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
So, I mean, I think when we talk about looking at everything as an experience to get better and to make things better for the company, for the person, the client, and yourself, It's just about nurturing the experience and saying, hey, that was good. I'll never make that mistake again, and not looking, hey, in your business, in my business, it's if 2 out of 10 works out, you're the best salesman in the history of the world.
No, yeah, 100%.
Me too. I go out on 100, probably 150 client meetings, personal client meetings a year. Might be 12 or 15 clients.
Right.
But they're all people that I know I can help.
Yeah.
And they're what they want.
Yeah, and they're people that have that you have meshed now personally, right?
Absolutely.
Now you have now created this, through your follow-up, which, part of the greatness of you even sitting here is now peeling back the layers on yourself and your business, and me now learning of that sales whole part of it, and how much similarities of your day to day are with our similarities, and I just think you're echoing, although maybe for a different style of sales, you're the root of it is all the same, and you are the word servant is thrown around and maybe looked at not well, but you talk about it with such elegance as like a public servant, and that's what you were. And we're in that same boat. I'm a servant to the John Smith and Jane Smith who want to buy their first home, or right. Joe Smith who wants to buy his first investment property. And if I treat it as they need me more than I need them, that's where this relationship is going to go sour.
Break down. That's
where it's going to go sour. And even for someone in a security business, even you can't go to that sales meeting like that. Right? I mean, you can't go.
It can never be about the payment. It can never be about the benefit on the, on the superficial side. It's got to be genuinely, I want to help.
Yeah.
And I think once you get that in your life, whatever that calling and that serving is, it just becomes easier. Because you're not talking out of, all right, let me think. All right, if I get this guy, it'll be $15,000 a month. I don't.
Right.
Once or twice, maybe when I first got out of public service, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to pay me that for doing what I just did for 178, 982, 64?
Right.
No more than a U.S. congressperson or senator.
Right, exactly.
Like they only make that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's kind of, that is a liberating feeling. And
right.
I would say to these young folks, spend time with yourself, figuring out what, if the money part, which it is, it's all to all of us because that's the way we live and that's where we are. And that's why certain people have this car and live in this house and certain people have this car and live in this house. But bottom line is spend time with yourself writing your number. And I think you and I have talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out your number. What is your number? What is your monetary number? Three different things. The first one is that you survive,
right?
That you can pay your bills. The second one is what I want. And the third one is what I dream of. Those are the three numbers. Write them down. I guarantee you you will no longer think about money.
Right.
Once you do that. Because you kind of know. And then I did that a long time ago. And one day I just happened to look at my stuff. I'm like, holy cow, I'm triple.
Right.
I'm triple the dream.
Yeah.
And what happened? Then you readjust, you know? But I can honestly say when I write proposals, I have a proposal writer now because I'm just not good at valuing my services.
Okay.
And I think most of us fall into that area.
Yeah.
Like, well, wait a minute. I don't really want, because then they're not going to really want me if I overcharge. You know what? That's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Because when I go out with confidence and say, I absolutely can help you. I know I can, and I know I can legitimately, but not even a but. And my cost is, and I've had people just not blink an eye.
Yeah.
Sign the engagement. And I've had people say, well, my budget was kind of, no problem. I have a person that could do it for that money.
Right.
And I'll tell them, but you'll be back.
Yeah.
You'll be back to me because I'm going to hit the ground running and get it done. You're going to waste that money. That person's going to come to me too and ask for help. And at the end, that's the confidence you kind of build.
Correct.
So I think that's an important exercise for anyone in any business. Write your numbers down.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out, and then it'll just believe me, it'll happen. It's like, looking at a golf ball.
Well, and it's funny that you just said that because I think about it in the caddy yard, right? I mean, you know it as a member at the club, and there are tiers and there are levels of guys that go with levels of guys, and that's just and there are days where you see maybe one of the higher guys go with a little bit of a wacky group, and everybody kind of takes a pause, like whoa, what do you're worth more than that. What are you doing? Kind of thing, and it's like I've taken that to this side of the business, or to, this job and just my everyday life, and it doesn't have to be arrogance. It's nothing about arrogance. It's just, I feel like I have this skill that's worth this much, this much in compensation, whether that even be money or just people's time,
right.
or even just people's time as a currency. You know what I mean? Like if I feel like we're in a group of a circle and I'm holding a conversation and you're not paying attention to me, you're not worth my time, and maybe that's self-absorbent of me, but not. It's like, good. Okay,
it's good thoughts. It's good. It's a good thought process.
Because why am I going to waste my time? If you don't want to hear what I want to hear,
there, man. We're spending a lot of time together on one round.
Yeah.
And that's like, I forget where I heard it, but I think it was a young woman who put up like a TikTok or something. And she basically said, if you want to learn everything about a person, play golf, play a round of golf with them.
Yeah.
She goes, that's the way I learn how to, that's the way I find out about a new boyfriend,
right?
A new friend, because you'll see everything.
Yeah. You'll 4 hours.
See who they are.
4 hours,
Yep. They'll talk to you about who they are. They'll show who they are.
Yeah.
And they'll interact the way they're supposed to interact or not supposed to interact.
Totally. And I think, and it brings it to that face to face. It's so important. And with Zoom and everything, I think that's made it a little bit easier for people. But I still view that as somewhat of a cop out, because there is that, there is that, right? There is that. I can't tell
the 5 minutes before we got on and the 5 minutes after.
Exactly. Because it all just blends in.
I say to clients all the time. I just was up at a major company, and we went out and met person, and we had our meeting, and then the walking around, the having a coffee.
Right.
The finding out what that person likes, what he drives, how he interacts with his people.
Uh-huh.
How do I get that on a Zoom meeting?
You don't, because you hit that end button and it's,
Now I know him, and I know how to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly how to give him peace of mind.
Right.
And I know the way to do it, what he likes, what he would want. Some people want, a body next to them, a big body next to them. Some people, it's the last thing in the world. They want what we call an interferer.
Right.
Somebody to just get in the way.
Yeah.
Get in the way. Not a big person, a smart person who has situational awareness.
Who can see something occurring or starting to brew.
Hey, how you doing? Kind of throw them off.
Uh-huh.
Throw what we call the OODA loop. Throw it off.
Okay.
How do we do that?
Right.
It could be as simple as just, walking and watching posturing and just saying, hey, what's going on? And that takes them out of what they're going to do.
Now, I guess my question for the meetings part, and we're doing our best to get out there and meet with realtors and meet with borrowers and just introduce ourselves. Like, you're dealing with these somewhat famous people and bigger companies and large corporations. Right. So when you're in there, what kind of questions are you staging for these clients? I mean, obviously your line of questioning is going to be different, but in terms of are you really looking for pain points? Are you really looking for what was your experience previously? Kind of walk me through your mental gymnastics of like kind of the deal.
Like a verbal, they call it like verbal Aikido.
Right.
Like just basically, I'm gonna rip you down to your pain points, even if you don't think you'll ever tell me that. And that's the job. That's all of our job.
Right.
Make somebody tell you the worst thing they possibly never want to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Make them tell them with a smile on their face and tell them you can help them.
Right.
So it's all about, in my business, it's all about what keeps you up at night. That's like the cliche.
The scary stuff.
You see the pretenders in my industry, what keeps you up? They have no idea what the fuck to do. Oh,
right.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
They have no idea what to do with it.
Right.
But they ask it because they saw it on some show.
Heard it.
They read it in some book. It's you'll know. I can tell immediately, just by stories. They're talking about their kids a lot. Oh, I'm worried about my daughter. And she's up. Simple things.
Let's focus in on that.
Hey, I can't believe, I have a wine collection. I have a home here. It's their it. It's their why.
Right.
So and it could just be relationships. And I'm there to protect it. I pick up on it quick. I think that in any sales job, you have to pick up on what the person wants to do.
Right.
And it can't be what you think they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really, kind of embrace their thought and what their it is and then protect it.
Yeah.
That's my business. You're in the same business.
Right.
You're protecting their investments. You're protecting, like you said, maybe their first dollar.
Right.
Or their life savings or something that their grandfather, who they loved and is gone, left them.
Right.
And you really have to be very vigilant as you would be for your own, treat them like you would.
100%.
Here's something I relate to this because, I have stepkids and their dad went down in the towers.
Right.
He's a great dude. Like he just was a great. I mean, it would be weird if I knew him, but I feel like I do. And,
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, how do you differentiate? Somebody once asked me, how do you differentiate between your kids and your stepkids? I said, I don't. Hardest job I've ever had, being a step parent, but I don't. And they said, well, how did you kind of, you know, get past that? And I said, well, I think about their dad.
Right.
I think about the fact that he didn't have the opportunity that I have right now to be with my kids, to be with his kids.
Right.
And you know the famous, you know, well, you do, the ESPN, Adam Schefter, right?
Yep.
Like he's in the same position.
Right.
He married a 9/11 widow.
Correct.
And what he decided to do, and I was in a little different position. I didn't get to know Jim Martello's family.
Right.
I knew his kids. I didn't really get to know the family. A couple, you know, whatever, and a whole unique set of circumstances why.
Right.
But he got to know Joe Mayo, who was his wife's husband, who died at Canner, by the way. Probably sat right next to Jimmy.
Yeah.
He got to know the family and got to know his friends and really learned about the guy. And he wrote a book called The Man I Never Met.
Yes. Yep.
And in it, he talks about the fact that without ever knowing me, he created, without having his life move forward, he created a life for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that a lot. And I think I told you this, but you know, LinkedIn is the only place to get in touch with that guy.
Right.
You know, I knew I'd never get you know, even with the
Twitter
sports
and
celebrities
everything.
I know, they would never connect. You know, they
Right.
probably don't have his info. So on LinkedIn, I just hit him up with a quick note. And I told him exactly what I said. Hey, we have something in common. It's the worst thing you could possibly have in common, but I really respect the fact of how you raised Joe Mayo's son.
Yeah.
Who went to Michigan, who went to Schefter's, like, you know,
Right.
kind of alma mater, and then they had a baby together. And that's it. And I left my phone number. He called me.
Wow.
That's a good dude.
Yeah.
He called me. He said, I don't have a lot of time, but I could not go without calling you.
Wow.
And he said, here's the bottom line. This is what he said to me. Put your kids' faces on his kids' faces. And if you can honestly say that you would treat all the same, and if that's what it takes to do that, God bless you. That's
Right.
what I want you to do. And you know, I've done that, and now I don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
It's just there. I
Yeah.
feel as strongly about James Martello as I do about Jimmy DiOrio.
Yeah. And like you said, you're putting yourself, you're continuing a you know, an accomplishment that another gentleman, you know, portrayed. So you're taking on that, you know, in a respectful way. But, you know, the way that you talk about your grandson, Sal, you know, like he's, you know, as unfortunate as it is, and I've gone through a ton of loss over the last year or so, and it just, that is the part that gets you. So, you know, for you to have that genuineness and want to truly continue that for them, you know, it's just so important, because there's going to be a time where, you know, whether they want to say it or not, and whether you see it right away, but like, there's going to be times where they're going to have to come to you, and it's going to be a hell or, you know, high water situation, you know, and it's going to be, they were going to go to Jim, and they were going to be, you know, they don't have that anymore, and you're that stone for them, or that rock, you know, and I just think that that's so important. And I think something that gets lost in the, you know, obviously this is a little off topic, but just like something that gets lost in the whole divorce situation is the success stories and the greatness of those stepdads that come in. And you know, I have a friend, he moved from Staten Island down to Howell when we were about 7th grade, and his father passed in the Twin Towers, and, you know, we knew his whole family, and we kind of went through that, and I went through that more as a kid perspective, right? Yeah. And I just saw how special it was as his mother found, you know, somebody else, and they built a relationship together, and they did all this stuff, and how much the kids' lives changed through all that, and it's so important and commendable, and you know, we have James in our office, one of our LOs. I believe his father passed in the Twin Towers as well. He's got it. So it's just something that's affected a lot of people in our direct circle, and I just think that it's such an amazing thing that you do, and you know, not just you personally, but just everybody, you know, everybody that really takes that and instead, like you just said, they're my stepkids, these are my kids, but like either way, they're kids, right? So like, how could you treat these guys any different than you would your own? There's no reason to, and they're going to be better off, whether or not right now, they're going to be much better off for it later.
Man, it's not easy for it. you have to let them set their own pace.
Right.
That's a problem for a guy like me, because I spent my whole life. You better walk to my pace.
Yeah.
You got a problem. Didn't matter where it was.
Mm-hmm.
My kid's the same. My kids will tell you, like, I'm some hard ass Italian dad. You got to be kidding me.
Right.
I'll show you what that's like.
Yeah, compared to the way you grew up and everything.
It that way.
Right.
I can show you.
Right.
But you don't have it that way. But that's their belief.
Right.
It's the same thing with clients. It's the same exact thing. Look at them as if it's your brother.
Right.
Look at them if it's your grandmother that you're helping. That will help you. Would you make these same decisions at the deal you're proposing to this person if it was your family or your child? No.
Yeah.
No. If you say I would not do that, you got to get better.
Yeah.
You got to really believe it, not just put the show on. Hey, fake it till you make it. I get that, but at some point, you got to actually.
The rubber hits the road, man.
That's right. And the best people at this job are the people that see that the quickest and learn about nurturing that relationship.
Totally.
For a good reason.
Right.
Not just because, oh man, I might make $1,500 on this.
Yeah.
You know what? If you nurture that relationship, you make a hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in friendship.
Right.
But then, it flows, the trust is going to flow across to that financial mean.
Yeah.
And that's what drive. I mean, listen, society dictates that value.
Exactly.
That's not my value. Monetarily, I never felt that was my value. My value was sincerely believing in people and showing up when they needed me.
Yeah.
Finding a way to show up.
I think it's just so important. I sent you the episode of us and Charles Purrier, one of my strongest borrowers and one of my favorite people to deal with. And, we told that story on that podcast. I'll never forget it. We were at the closing table a week away, say, 2 deals on the table. I'm not doing what I need to do. He calls me and rips me a new one. I'm in the gas station up the street trying to get my gas filled, and he is on the phone ripping me a new one. But guess what? We've done 5 deals since that day. Why? Because I took that coaching. I said, absolutely, you're 100% right. I'm not, like you just said, walk with me. I'm not walking with you. Yep. You want me to be here, and I'm here. I need to get there. And now we've created this relationship that goes well beyond just his investments. You know what I mean? It's just a call in every month or so. How are you? How is everything going?
Friend.
What's going on? All those kind of things.
Right? It's another person.
Correct.
That you've built that relationship
with.
Right. When it hit me, my dad passed young. I was 30. I was way too young. It doesn't matter when your dad passed, but I was 31 and my brother was 41 and my dad passed suddenly, 66, had a heart attack, whatever. And you hear a story, but your dad was a good guy. That's nice to hear, right? However, it was the old school. It was back in 1995, so you still had the 2 nights of wake.
Yeah.
Everybody, his sister throwing themselves on the call.
Right.
Ridiculous. So, but long story short is we stood, for 2 days of 7 hours with people just lining up in Roseland, New Jersey. They shut down the streets.
Wow.
Thousands of people came through, and we're kind of looking around. But the story that stood out with me is a guy walked up and said, listen, you probably don't know who I am, but my dad was dying of cancer. And your father came down every single morning when he was dying and shaved him.
Wow.
Because he never wanted to be, gross.
Unshaven.
He wanted to be shaved.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy, like, where was that? When was that? What years was that? And he talked about my high school years is when my dad was doing this.
Wow.
So I can remember my dad he was a runner. He was like an avid runner. So he got with a heart condition, but it was amazing. Guy go out, run 5 miles, come back, make me breakfast because my mom was working, make me breakfast. And then he would say, I gotta go. I got an appointment.
And that's where he was going.
Every day.
Wow.
Saturday, Sunday, weekend. So he never told me that story. He never told my brother, but we had a million stories like that.
Right.
And so my brother and I often talk with keeping that pace, like being that person. I've fallen far short of my dad.
Yeah.
But that drives us. Like that drives the both of us.
I have the same story, and it's just like he's, my father's a hero of mine, if you will. But like, unfortunately in Howell, and this being a point guy for a while, raising your son.
Yep.
Our generation, me and Jimmy's generation, man, heroin and pills and things like that hit us really hard. Our whole generation of people. So,
yeah,
when I was a senior in high school, we lost a kid. His name was, and he was a kid who moved from the inner city up north, and he had moved down into Howell when his mother and father separated, and she was, trying to give him a new life. And my dad picked him on our basketball team at rec every single year from the first year that he was in rec in 7th grade until he no longer played rec, whether that was from 7th grade to 12th grade, 11th grade, whatever it was, but he was always going to be on our team. So, we're at his funeral or his wake, as you just said, and we were always friendly because we're on the team, but it never felt like it was any more than that. Even with my father and my mother and their parent and his parent, his mother.
Yeah.
My father walked into that wake and the entire wake stopped. The entire wake stopped. His mother ran from his coffin through the aisle and hugged my father and just sobbed. What? Yeah. I'm 16 years old, 17 years old, couldn't comprehend. But because it meant so much to her how much he cared about him that she didn't even think when he walked in. And it didn't mean anything until you start to get that feeling, like in your 30s, as a 29-year-old, you start to see the mortality and the, all these things, and you're like, I've fallen way short. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the whole selfless thing and the whole genuineness is something that I'm, over the last 4 months and even continuing through the year, just trying to really fix that part of it. And it's no longer, Mr. Puryear, how can you service me? No. Yeah. I'm here to serve you. How can I serve you? Who can I get you in contact with? All that. I think it's a testament to how you're raised. It's unbelievable.
Story. I mean, but that says it all. Like that encapsulates what we're trying to do.
Right.
And what we should be. And we have great examples
as people, just outside of business, right?
And our dads gave us great examples of that.
Yeah.
And
truly.
So it's kind of like the genuineness, the being a man of your word.
Right.
Like I feel I'm good enough at being able to say, as much as I'm able to say, yeah, Jack, I'm going to come down here and do this.
Right.
I feel just as comfortable in saying, hey, I would love to, man, but I can't.
Right.
And I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not making up some
100%.
crap.
Right.
But if I say I'm coming,
I'm going to be there. Yeah. Definitely.
Period.
Right.
And I'm getting older, so I forgot.
Yeah.
I was going to be here no matter what.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's what our dad showed us. You're a man of your word through actions. A lot of guys and girls can talk the talk, but not many of them can actually be the person who shows it.
And that's where I feel like I'm coming up short I'm getting married in 40 days less, and I just feel like I'm, brings us back to earlier in the conversation. I'm trying to do all these different things that those people that I was nurturing and that mean the most to me in my book, I'm losing that connection and I'm not focusing in on that and not taking that as serious as I should. And that's kind of where I, feel like I'm coming up short, where my father is working 9 to 5 for Verizon. He's doing it for 30 years. He also runs a successful pool business on the side, 50 plus customers. And he never misses an appointment, never misses a thing. And it's just, that is why, I'm starting, and I've got a late jump, didn't go to college, learned everything on the School of Hard Knocks, but these are the things that I'm really trying to hone in on.
Because and this is like we're blowing smoke up each other's ass, but that's okay. But you are that guy. You are that guy.
Right.
So just know that, right? We can't chase the shiny nickel.
Yeah.
If we got to work 20 hours, we're not afraid to do that. Mm-hmm. You're clearly not afraid to do that.
Right.
Right. So take care of business, with marriage. Married and people understand that stuff.
Yeah.
But as long as you're a man of your word, as long as I try to teach my son, and he's got the work ethic. So does my daughter. If you tell them you can't do it because this.
Right.
Don't tell them, I got in traffic. Bullshit.
Right.
I'm going to call bullshit on you every time you do that.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't make it. That's it.
Right.
But I'm going to be there. Next time I can make it, I'm at your place.
Yeah.
And then you got to show up.
Right.
That's the big thing with success in any of the business, in this business that we do. We have different kind of sides of it, but we're doing the same job.
Right.
Be there. If you say you're going to do it, do it. If you know you can't do it, tell them that you can't do it, and here's why.
Yeah.
But I've never had an issue with being that way.
Yeah, those are my biggest, come to, as I'm end of the year, middle of the year, whatever you want to call it, kind of review, and going into the end of the year and start of next year, like that's just the number one thing, is just continue to be, try and be more of a man of my word, and make sure that I'm hitting those follow-ups at the end of the day. Like you said, a Friday review, a Monday, experience, something just to kind of, okay. And because this way, if you're doing that, right, and this gives you the opportunity, I'm now touching my full whatever it is on Monday, my full plate of business on Monday and Friday. Yep. So if anything falls between the cracks of that, then it's maybe not meant to be. But if there are things that I have to get done and those are slipping through the cracks, that's on me issue. And that's what I'm trying to, really work through, is I'm having a lot of, as I'm having these conversations with myself, is those things. It's, working inside of myself to fix all that. But,
and get some wins. What I mean is, seriously, like
100%.
check stuff off. Even if the checkbox was, I came to, go get fresh K-Cups.
Right.
Get a win or two.
Yeah.
And check them off. Celebrate them.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, man, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, before I came here, I had a great phone call with a client. Mm-hmm. And like, I got up and was like, yeah.
Win.
Like, it was a great phone call. Like, not because we got more business, but I knew I helped these people. Right. I knew they were like tracking.
Yeah.
And I met them last week, and I told them, I went down and saw your CEO. And they're looking at me, and the one person who's pretty new to the company, so I haven't met the CEO yet.
Right.
And you're working in the C-suite.
Yeah.
Get your ass down there and meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a win. So get those wins and then check them off and get rid of them.
And also, what does that little thing just show you right there? And it brings it to the comment you made before about going down the left lane and not worrying about anybody else. But like, you went and saw the CEO and you don't even work for the guy. This guy's two floors away and has never looked him in the eyes, so that comes the same way with us as LOs. There's guys out there that aren't, as much as we think we're not doing enough, there's guys out there and girls out there that are doing 20, 30, 40% less. And guess what? There's 10, 20, 30% more.
Absolutely.
And it's just, where are you going to land?
2/3 rule. You ever hear that? 2 people?
Never.
Take 3 people in any company. Take them in here, take them in my company, my business, in the FBI, in the Army. 2 people are going to do the work. One person is going to say they do the work and not do a damn thing. So in the bureau, we used to say, hey, that's a crossword puzzle, dude. Don't ask them. I mean, come out like, hey, you got something? Hey, we can do a search warrant today. Oh, first one, doing the boxes, put the boxes together, get the coffee.
Right.
But that, right?
Yeah.
That's what that person does. That person is as, kind of grateful to be in that position as they would be in the middle of the biggest investigation in the history of the FBI.
Right.
But so everywhere has a 2/3. You just have to figure out who it is.
Totally.
And once you do, just take them for what they are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And it takes away the frustration. It takes away like how much time is spent. Like, in any office, in this office, any office, people that that fucking guy didn't do anything.
Right. Not necessary.
What do you like when you look at that person? Say it's John.
Right.
Of course he doesn't do shit.
Yeah.
But don't we love him?
Right.
We need this done. We need that done.
He gets it done. Right.
What else do you expect? You expect him from him to close 50? No.
Right.
Am I going to piss everybody off? Right, like, so I used to say, like, we had a guy in my office and loved him. And I supervised a couple hundred agents. We had one guy and like people were bitching. I'm saying, are you kidding? You got to be kidding me. Think about who that guy is. Yeah. Okay. Let's go through his schedule to the day. And he gets up and puts his sport coat on 11:30. Doesn't come back till 1 o'clock. He leaves at 4 o'clock on the dot, whatever. Okay. What does he do that you don't want to do? You'd be like, he does all the admin leads.
Okay.
So what's the value?
Right.
You don't have to go out and do a background investigation on a federal judge who's being appointed. You want to know why? Because he does it and doesn't complain about you.
Right.
So shut the fuck up and go to work.
Exactly.
And that's
100%.
Talk about productivity. Like my guys were like, holy shit, yeah, oh my God.
Now that you're thinking about it.
And then they started treating them different.
Right.
Bringing them coffee and hey, man, and then the jokes became better. And then, this was a guy that he was a Boston dude. I love him. I still talk to him. Boston guy, raised 3 beautiful girls. They all are successful. He would do this basically like stater, what do they call it? Like,
State of the Union.
Like over the obvious, like Captain Obvious.
Oh, okay,
whatever the hell it is, right?
Right.
So you would be standing in the old days, the fax machine, right? You would be faxing something. And he would walk by and go, Jim, you faxing something? And it used to bother people.
Right.
Like, people, well, what the and I used to go like, how'd you know, Andy? How'd you know?
Right.
What was the giveaway?
Yeah.
Right. Or stuff like, he basically, you jump up and say, anybody have the computer help desk number? And he'd go, oh, what? What you got a problem with the computer? And I'd always say like, no, I just haven't talked to those people in a while. And everybody would laugh, but other guys would be like, what the fuck are you doing? No, just that's who he is.
Exactly.
He's an entertaining guy.
Right.
So let it go, run with it. And once I kind of I always ran my units, whether it was a platoon leader or a company commander or a team leader or, in the bureau, agent in charge or whatever, or agent of a task force. I always ran it like that. I immediately could pick out, all right, that's my guy who's going to put boxes together. That's the dude. And in combat, you're surprised by that stuff.
Right.
Trust me when I tell you, like the guys that you think are going to jump out of the plane shooting, they run to the front of the plane. I ain't going out.
Right.
The guys that are just quiet dudes, all of a sudden you just see them just like,
leap.
That's my man. You got to kill people, right? So, but you need to kind of understand who the people are,
right.
And that helps focus too. That helps focus. Some guys are lead generators, which you need. Some guys get the job done. Right. Some guys can do both. Some guys can do neither.
Right.
But they all have value to your organization.
Correct.
And I think we spend way too much time focusing on stuff we can never change.
Yeah. 100%. And that's why, for me, I get frustrated because our big thing was focus, but like that I've struggled with focus my whole life, so I just continue and work on it every day and just try and take in little tidbits, conversations, little things to just try and keep nurturing and make it work for myself. Like you said, with the sales, with different sales things, there's going to be, not everybody sells the same, but guess what? There is an outline that you have to follow. Right. And whether it's, right. Everybody's outline is, dotted the same or says all the same words, it might not, but there is a flow to each sale that you have to go on. And I just think focusing in on nurturing the relationships, nurturing your focus, nurturing yourself. I mean, there's so much self-care, like you said, meditation, even if it's, you always talk about, you're the first guy on the range. Mm-hmm. Every Saturday, every Sunday, first guy on the range. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're hitting balls, but you're going to be out there having a coffee with me and Jeff and some of the guys
joking
and
around,
BSing and having a great time. And and that's your way of getting loose.
That's it.
Because it may have been, you've been up probably since 4:30 reading emails. I know that, So that's your way to come in and decompress. And I just think that learn it, like I said, from at the beginning of the episode, learning from you little things, and whether you think it was indirect or direct, has helped me a lot in just that attitude of smile, joke, be that bright light, because everyone is attracted to it. If you can continue to be that for people, you're going to reap the benefits in tenfold than if you're just going to be this guy who's singly focused. I have to do this all the time. This is who I am. Yep. It's just not going to work, and it's going to rub people the wrong way. But if you can just bring a genuine love and a genuine laughter and a genuineness to the table, it just goes. It goes.
Totally agree, man. And if you can, the other thing I always think about is never call a person just because you need something,
right?
Even if it's your best friend. So I will randomly, because we have minds that think alike. I'm all over the place, but randomly somebody will just pop into my head, and there's a reason that happens.
Right?
I truly believe that. I'll just hit them up, hit them up with a text, dude. Thinking about you. Remember that time we X'd?
Right.
Hey, that was so funny. I hope your kids are well. Love the pictures. Tell so-and-so I said hi.
Right.
Boom. That's it. And I do that 15 or 20 times a day. Right. And it's just because it legitimately pops into my head. Meditation helps that.
Yeah.
The kind of meditation I do you're not supposed to suppress. You just let it happen, and it'll be, hey, Richie from Belmar when I was 7 popped in my head. I'll hit him up.
Yeah.
What's going on? How you doing? Hey, Dad looks great. Whatever.
Right.
But when you have to call, I often think of this. When I first came out of the bureau, I had job offers, like chief security officer job, good money, but I was like, no. And my mentor said, you're crazy. That's not you. You can't sit in one office doing one thing. You never done it in your life. So I started to just kind of nurture buddies of mine who were in positions to give work.
Right.
And I remember one of my buddies who's a high up, and you'd know him. He said to me, dude, if you're just calling and asking me for something, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you a job. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check you off for that month and say, took care of DiOrio, gave him, a $5,000 job. I'll wait till the next month.
Right.
Just remember that. So he said, don't do that. Tell me what your value is, and I'll put you to work all year. And that's what happened. It's the same thing here. If you're just basically calling, hey, I'm really looking for you to invest, $10,000. They'll probably, because they trust you, they'll give you, or you have a relationship, they'll give you the 10, but they won't give you the million that they probably were going to give you if you just nurtured the damn relationship.
Yeah.
And all nurturing means is, it's not even an effort. It's just because I love to do that.
Yeah.
I come on the range. I want to make fun of Jeff. I want to bust, so-and-so. I want to make a joke about James. I know the things I want to do because I really want to do them.
Right.
I'm going to do what? 3, 4, 10 hair jokes.
Exactly.
Right. I'm going to spray my
your suntan lotion.
Suntan and laugh. We're going to laugh. Hey, it's my hairspray.
Right.
I'm going to flip my hair like I have some.
Yeah.
That's genuine. Like that's what I want to do.
Exactly.
And then, I'm going to get in a round. I'm going to get pissed, tell you to leave the flag in when I miss a putt that I missed. Right. So that's the kind of stuff I want.
I remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one.
Downey's still talking about that. But like I still remember when Downey remember he got told to go F himself by Rosenthal. But like after knowing him for 5 minutes and threw his back out of the
and
first
he was on
swing.
the massage. He's on the massage table on 9.
Oh my God almighty. I thought the guy was going to kill him. But those are the kinds of things that kind of, I think, and I didn't learn it till I was 40. I wish I learned it when I was 20 because I was still looking. Hey, I was the helper as the FBI, right? So I had this guy's a congressman here. This dude's, CEO of 7-Eleven. This guy's CEO of Mercedes. This guy runs the Atlanta Falcons. This guy runs John Deere. This guy runs United Airlines. These are all buddies of mine, close buddies of mine.
Right.
I would be the fixer as an FBI. I was, running one of 56 major FBI offices. Right. Hey, listen, I got this. Fix it. Then I would say to my ex at the time, I would say, but what do I get for that? No more money, no more. And she'd just be like, someday it's going to come back. I'd be like, bullshit. Well, it came back because I was genuinely wanting to help. I wasn't thinking about a business. Right. Now, it's like, I got to say, like, slow down, man. I can't do that. I don't have time to do that. Oh, I need you to do this. But it's still, Sheila said she noticed this weekend we were all together as a group. Yeah. All those major guys who are still running corporate America. They are running corporate America. Right. They are running, the world, some of them. And I'm sitting there and I'm holding, I don't even know. I'm holding court. Right. I'm the one that's talking. Right. I just spit all over the mic. It's okay. I'm the one talking. They're the ones asking my opinion. And she said, I can't believe these are major leaders of industry and the government. Yeah. And they're looking at you for advice. I go, it's never changed. Yeah. It's not advice. It's the fact that I'm a genuine, anybody else they go to is full of shit. Yeah. They go to their COO. He's going to tell them what they want to hear, not what they really need to do. Well, and that is something that like caddying has, in terms of confidence, has given me a ton of, in terms of my own worth and my skill level is I have that confidence on a Friday afternoon to take, we talked about it before, we won't name names, but those 4 guys that I took around that golf course on Friday, those are top 20 guys in the club, say just personality-wise. Yep. And I didn't miss a beat, right? Yep. And I felt like I truly could get those guys they take golf very seriously. They want to have a good time. I got them around the course in 4 hours. They didn't miss a beat. They didn't think anything other different of it, right? And, that plus, there's some guys at that club that are super elevated human beings, right? And there are some guys that have stopped me on the walk in the morning and said, how far out from the wedding? Yep. We were just talking about you. Yep. What? Yep. What? And it's that realization of you holding court amongst these powerful people and me, seeing the look on my mom's face or my grandmother's face when I say, I helped so-and-so today at the club and they were just talking about me or blah, blah, blah. It's like that's that self-worth that we were talking about. And it's like, sometimes you have to go outside of yourself to see that. That's because exactly you spend so much time in your own head. Self-validation is the most important thing you do because you know what? Nobody else is going to give it to you. Exactly. Trust me. Yeah. You got to validate yourself. Right. You got to be that person. Marriage is a perfect example. You're coming upon it. Like, as much as you're together, you have to have the independence that gains each other's respect. Right. Autonomy is a great thing. marital things, I love that part, but autonomy makes you who you are and makes you a better person for that person.
And you can't lose that part of you can't lose the autonomy, because then there becomes no more marriage. The marriage was one person and one person coming together. It wasn't just one organism. You know what I mean?
It's try to do everything each other wants to do.
100%. And that's why, golf is so important. And for me, and it's that 4 hours caddying, same thing. It's that 4 hours. I know I'm hanging with the boys. I'm hanging with the friends, with the guys. We're going to have fun. We're going to bet a little bit. We're going to have some laughs, and I think having something that you can put out. Correct. Yeah.
For something very simple that we enjoy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the travel of this job. I do it no matter what. I do it no matter what. If I got to fly out at 11 o'clock at night and fly back the next day at 3 o'clock, I'll do it. Because just for the fact to get a half hour with a guy that I really respect and want to show him how I can help him.
100%.
I do it. I do it. And that's great autonomy too, to be able to be like, hey, I'll be back Wednesday night. Really looking forward to dinner with you or watching the show that we love. But I got to go do this.
Right.
And she's the same way. She's got a cause and a mission. And that's why, this marriage is really good. It's a good marriage. It's, we're of our own word. If we say we're going to do something, we do it.
Right.
There's all transparency. Marriages are mixed with transparency too. I'm only going to tell you what I think, you wouldn't be mad at me for.
Yeah, exactly. Can't do that.
Recipe for disaster.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, and it's like, I have to go do this thing, but when I get back, we're going to watch our favorite show, or we're going to go have dinner. Like, me and Rebecca have been together 8 years. Mm-hmm. I've been caddying for, say, 6 of those.
Yeah.
And last weekend, for yesterday night, she stopped everything 7 o'clock at night and said, "Thank you for caddying this weekend." Because she knew how much, those 4 days of strong, days at the club can, do that extra thing for the wedding, or, even 6-10 months down the road for, buying a house or something. So this was the first time in, I'd say, 6 years that she's starting to realize like what is really happening.
She's seeing the cost. She's seeing the effort.
Right.
The effort is important. And you can make better decisions when you both know what your effort level is going to bring.
Right.
You make better decisions. You make more realistic decisions.
Exactly.
I came in, where I came in from Point Pleasant.
Right.
I came to Rumson.
Yeah.
Like, I want to kick half the people in the mouth.
Exactly.
But I don't.
It's a different level.
I can now get charged.
Right.
I never get charged. But, it's kind of like, I know you don't even know your worth, sir.
Right.
Yet you think you're all that.
Exactly.
I know exactly what my worth is.
Right. Yeah. 100%. And it just shows, again, what we opened up, and we'll wrap it up now. We're almost over an hour and 15 now.
Jeez. You talk too much.
That's what I think we both do. I think that's we're both in that.
That's why 4 hours goes quick on the course.
Well, that's why all of a sudden we're on 15, and we're in the bunker on 15.
You took this thing out.
So you have, a litany of great stories, of great add-ons to everybody's thoughts on these, world politics, things that are happening, all that stuff. But to keep it concise, your favorite one is the Chris Christie story.
Oh, my favorite.
Your favorite story.
Yes.
So as we wrap up here, please lay on the bar on our watchers here, our viewers, the Chris Christie story.
They're gonna love this one. So everybody knows Chris Christie. He's the guy who was parading around Donald Trump when he didn't get a political appointment. I actually like Chris.
Right.
Gotta be honest. I think he would have been a great president. Is what it is. So story goes back to when he was U.S. attorney in New Jersey, and had a great run. I think we won. Convicted 100 straight public officials in New Jersey. Impossible task.
Right.
And all because of the work of the Bureau.
Now you guys are working in conjunction.
We're working in conjunction.
Right.
So they're the prosecutor. We're, obviously the investigator just on the federal level. And Christie's an appointed person who, comes in to basically oversee and be the spokesperson, be the figurehead. So anyway, we had won our 100th straight. And everybody was excited. He was in the courtroom giving a high five and a whole deal. And we went back to the office, and federal prosecutors, there's very few career federal prosecutors. So they come in from an Ivy League law school. They spend 2, 3, 4, 10 years even. Then they go out for huge jobs in corporate America doing either general counsel work, or they're actually in big law firms. So I'm entertaining like usual, telling jokes, and everybody's laughing, and oh my God, and we're excited. And so I said, I got to get back to the office. Now I'm the boss of the office.
Right.
All right. Got to get back to the office. But before I go, I got one more joke. So, tell it. And I say, here's a riddle. Why can the New York Yankees no longer sign free agents? So they're all like puzzled, like, I don't know. They have plenty of money. Because that fat son of a bitch, Chris Christie, took all the pinstripes for his last spell. And nobody laughs. So I'm like, he's behind me. So I turn around, he's just burning. His face is burning. He says, get out. I said, you can't keep me out of here. He said,
right.
Get out of my office. All right. So anyway, get in the car. And I'm like, that's pretty good. That's a good one.
God, I'm pretty good.
I'm happy, but I'm like, in the back of my mind, something's telling me like, yeah, so my cell phone's going off. And I'm like, So anyway, I almost get back to the office and the cell phone is just, it's a DC number.
Right.
Just bing and bing.
Over and over.
And it's FBI headquarters. So I'm like,
Quantico.
I got to pick it up. Open it. DiOrio, like, hey, it's this dude who's the deputy director of the FBI, who's a mentor and a dear friend to this day.
So it went all the way up to the top.
He laughs his ass off. He loves this story, right? So he's like, hey, man. I'm like, yeah. He's like, did you say it? I'm like, I did. He goes, okay. He goes, we're all laughing our asses off, but you're suspended for 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, what does that mean? He goes,
right.
Well, just wherever you are, stop your car. And I've got agents coming to pick you up.
Yeah.
They actually take your car. They take your badge. Mm-hmm. They take your weapon. They take your credentials. And
now you're just on the road.
The equipment that you have, and they drive you home.
Okay.
For 2 weeks. I get home, 2 weeks, tell my ex-wife, who wasn't the easiest person to deal with, hey, I'm suspended for 2 weeks. And it was significant money. I mean,
right.
It was like, as an SES, you're probably making, over $2.
Right.
So probably a $7,000 hit,
in just those 2 weeks.
I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm thinking, we had just refinanced to get down to 10 years.
Right.
House full. And, she's like crazed. 2 days goes by. One of my best buddies, he worked with me and for me. Hey, calls the house phone. Hey, I'm on the way down to the house. I want to see you. I want to make sure you're okay, whatever. All right. So comes in, we sit down, and he opens up his briefcase, and he's got an envelope like this. It looks like a pillow.
Right.
And he goes, we took a collection for it. $17K. So I said, man, I'm going to continue to make jokes because this is lucrative.
Yeah.
And, and if the IRS is out there, I did not file.
They did not take it. You did not.
F you. But yeah, so that was, and to this day, I'll see Chris. I saw him at Rutgers last year, and he's with his whole entourage, and I'm walking by, and he just looked, for the show, he just gives me a finger, and then he turns around and gives me a big hug.
Right.
And he had this awful red sweater on that had like 1, 2, 3, 4 rolls. And I said, dude, to him right in front of all those people, hey, bro, just because they make it in that size doesn't mean you have to wear it. And so he's like, God, DiOrio, you mother effer.
He gets me every time.
Dude,
that's why. He's massive.
He's huge.
Well, that NYPD softball picture will go down in infamy.
Right there. It's like that big.
Or when he's sitting in the beach chair.
Beach chair's best.
The beach chair. The beach chair one is
they used that thing. But that's my best story of all time. This was absolutely fabulous.
Dude, I can't thank you enough. Really.
Oh my God. My pleasure. I love being here and really we're going to do some business as we talked about.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. So I just just for the send off, I mean, Jim DiOrio here, guys. I mean, one of the best. I mean, not necessarily, our real estate driven, but if you didn't learn something today or get some kind of, something to take home in terms of just anything in terms of, focusing and just being genuine and putting out your true self. I think that you've kind of missed the boat because I think that's kind of Jim's number one thing. And that's the energy that he brings every day. So again, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. And that's it for us.